Hello everybody. In this video I will explain a little bit what is Vuex, how it works, and how it's going to be implemented in our main application. But for that, let's do actually an example application to explaining what it actually do Vuex. So I just created a week 4 folder and we'll create a new application there. View, create, Vuex, test. I'm going to be selecting the router, Vuex, CSS processor, selecting the one that we were selecting before, and waiting for the files, the project be created. So let's go to the folder, let's open the code, and let's actually serve it. And I have it actually here. Perfect. View application installed. So let's actually explain what is Vuex. Vuex is a stage management pattern library for Vue.js. It's pretty much a way to having only one source of truth for the information. So let's do a really simple example. Let's go to my application. Let's keep this as it is. Under home directory, let me just remove the hello, let me remove the logo, just keep it clean. So we see the application, have the home and the about. Let me actually copy the content of about inside my home. This is the home page. Okay, home is home page, about is the about page. Okay. So let's actually, in the home, create the bdata, and let's actually do counter, and by default is 0. And we put the counter is counter. Save it, the counter is, oh, typo, let me put counter is supposed to be. There you go, the counter is 0. Perfect. Now let's create a button. Called add one. Let's see if it gets render. Actually, let's remove the add one. I just put like plus. Okay. And let's create another one. That's going to be minus. So we have plus and a minus in there. Let me just change the style a little bit. Am I using SAS or CSS? There you go, scope. There you go, and then we'll say that on my button we'll have padding of 10 pixels. Let's say, let's increase it to 20. Let's do a font size of 3M. These two buttons. Oh, this button is singular. There you go. Okay, and let's put a margin of 10 pixels. Okay, I believe that's it. Probably it's a little big too. That's better. We have a plus and the minus there. And let's create two different, after data, let's create two different methods. So with a comma, methods add, and we have another one called subtract. And the add what it's going to do is this counter plus plus, and the subtract is going to be this counter minus minus. Okay. And now we need to type. When we click this one, we're going to add, and when we click this one, we're going to subtract. Okay, so simple button. We just click, you can increase, and didn't do it. Oh, again the typo. There you go. Increase and decrease. So we can play around that. Let's say now in the about page, I can say we need to send the counter here. So when we're going to the counter, that one doesn't exist in the about page. It exists here, but you see it whenever we cannot see it in about, and we go back, it gets reset to 0. That's the default value, right? So how we can be persistent, and how can we call the counter there? Well, there is some ways. So we can actually do some kind of props, and let me show you that. View props. And we can say something like this. Actually, no, in this case, we cannot do the props. So we need to have a single source of truth. So instead actually saving my counter here, we're going to be saving in the store. So what is the store? The store is one place to get the information and call it. So we're going to have the new counter, and by default is 0. In the state we have getters, mutation, and actions. Getter actually not showing here, but the getter is pretty much go to get a state. We can actually do something like this. Getters. Like get counter. And this is the only thing that's going to return. State.counter. And we need to send the state. This is the state. Okay. So we have a way where to save the information. Now we have a way how to retrieve that information through a getter. A mutation is going to be the one that is going to be changing the state. So we have two actually mutations. We have, let's actually call change counter, and we're going to save the state and the payload. Payload is just something that's going to be sent. And this one, the only things they're going to be doing, the new, the state, whoa, state dot counter equal actually do plus equal the payload. Let's add the payload to that. So this one, the mutation is going to be the one charge, and then we have the action that is going to be the one generating or creating the different mutations. So let's have two actions. Let's have add to counter, and let's have another one called subtract from counter. And this we're going to send, we need to send a couple of things. Let me actually check the notes. I'm probably using what I'm doing. Let me show you in a minute. So the state, saving the information, mutations, you do something to that state, and then action is the one who are committing the context to execute the mutation. So we need to send so the context in both of them. I'm going to say context dot dispatch my mutation, and my mutation is called change counter, and then I see add a payload, and my payload is going to be 1. The other one is going to be really similar, but my payload is going to be -1. So you have one mutation that handles all the changes and two different actions that increment by 1 or decrement by 1 the specific counter. So doing this array, we can actually go to home. We can remove the data. We don't need it anymore. And let's actually remove everything. We will put the method later, but let's actually remove everything. And we want to create a computed element. A computed element is like a data element, but that can change over time. And we need to have some kind of watcher, also how view to see when that object change in order to react to that particular change. So that's why it's computed. And let's put the counter there. And we're going to return, and the same as the store, the router, we have a global object. We have the same for the store. So we have a store dot getter dot, how we call it, get counter. Let's save it like that. Go to see the page, go to the home. It does not get it yet. Let's see. Get counter. Get counter. Get counter, yes. Oh, it's called new counter. So this one is actually not getting the correct element. So now we have a 0. So what happened? Okay, well, now we need to make this to do what it's supposed to do. Okay. But before we doing that, we go to the about page. we can actually copy this, paste it, and this is about page, and we save it. Now and sorry for that. There you go. And the final counter is 0. So now we can access the same information in two different places. That is the importance of how the Vuex here. So let's mutate the counter. So let's actually create again the method. We call the add, and we call the subtract. And we are going to use executing this store dot dispatch. So we're going to create run an action, dispatch, and the name of the action. And actually it's going to be the same here. So our action for add is actually add to counter. Important, this needs to be a text, that's why it's like that. And the other one is subtract from counter. Boom. Oh, I'm in the about page. Let me remove all this, cut it, and actually that needs to be in the home because it's where we have the buttons. So add is going to dispatch an action, and subtract is going to dispatch the other action. Let's see if it works. Ooh, it's not doing it. Let's check why it's not doing it. Go to the console. Oh no, action change counter. Oh, we have the typo again. We have some issues about that. Let me check. Actually, this is not I'm sorry for that. So an action is not dispatching a mutation actually. Let me check my notes. An action is committing a mutation. So this is actually like this. Dispatching is to dispatch another action. Commit is to execute a mutation. Sorry for the bad understanding there. That's why the error was saying that the action doesn't exist. So now, okay, we are not getting the error anymore, but it's not doing what it's supposed to. Let's actually do a console.log payload to see what we're sending. 1 and -1. Yeah, it's doing that. Oh my god, I have typos all over the place. So I was changing an object that didn't exist. So now it's called new counter. There you go. This one increase my counter, this decrease my counter. But I leave it at 4. If I go to the vault page, that 4 is maintained. If I'm going back, that is still there. And I can continue changing that and see that it maintains the value wherever it changes, and saving the information in only one place. So this is actually the way how we can maintain a single source of truth and then get that information in any page and any element the way that we need it. And the pretty cool thing about this too is we go to the View tab and we click the Vuex, we'll see the different mutations that have been changing over time and the different payload there. So we can see that we click this one, the state was 5 and the getter was 5 at the moment, and the payload was -1. And we can see over time how our application changed. If we click use time travel, we can actually trace back a different element or change of the information from our application as we need it. So this way we can actually see what is happening, and we can trace all over the time when it was happening. So hope that you like it. To understand it, so we have a store file, we have the state, mutation, and action. We added the getter, that one are not there by default, but the getter, the state is pretty much the data by itself. The getter is just returning that data from the state. The mutation is changing the state directly, and the action is committing those mutations. And then in your application, you need to dispatch the different actions. So it looks like a big chain, actually just to change one element. We can even select directly the state and make changes to the state, but it's not a good practice. Why? Because we are keeping everything in one source of truth. The store is going to be the only source of truth for the application, the one who maintaining the state of the information of the application. We need to trace back a way to handle the different changes and how to get that information without changing the state when we don't need to. That's why we had it like that. So hope that you like it. Happy coding, everybody.